Hello and welcome to the first episode of a new series that I'm going to be making here on my channel, which is going to be called What Shall I Do With This Thing? And the idea of this series is that I upcycle different things, most of which will be things I already have, some of which may be things that I get from charity shops. And I change them in some way from a thing that doesn't have any use for me to a thing that I want to have in my home. Unlike most of the videos I've been making on my channel, which have involved multiple projects all bundled into one video, this series is just going to be individual videos of individual projects, which will hopefully mean I can get videos out a little bit quicker. That aside, let's start off this actual video and get into the thing that I want to do something with this week. This is a set of desktop drawers which I have had for a decade or more. It's got some stickers on it, some little hoops stapled to it, and this obviously came with drawers in it, but I've had those out of it for a couple of years now because the drawers fit perfectly in my Billy bookcase, so I just keep them stacked in there, which works really well for me, but has left me with this guy who has no use. I was using it for ages on the top of my cupboard up here to store frames and things in it, but since my art room video I haven't needed it anymore because I made this whole rainbow storage system up there, and this guy got relegated to the sidelines. Because this has no practical or aesthetic use in my flat at the moment, many people may just say to put it in the bin, get rid of it, it's taking up space, it's no use, nobody's going to want it. One of the reasons why I really want to do this series is to show that you can turn something that is objectively useless and trash into something really special with just a bit of effort. The other good thing about starting an upcycling project with a base item which would otherwise be waste is that you feel an increased level of creative freedom on what you could do to it, because it could only get better, really. It's quite an exciting feeling. I think that this particular thing is worth keeping, not trashing, because it is quite a solid thing, which means it's a great base for doing other things onto. It's also a really decent size, and because it is essentially just a wooden box, there are lots of options for which way round you have it, and therefore lots of options for things you could do to it. One thing I do already know is this piece is going to be for the living room, and I think what I want it to be is some sort of side table. So that's the basis I'm going off of. I also already know that this is going to be a paper mâché project. I thought the first one for this series, it's only right that it be paper mâché, because that's the thing I consistently do in all of my other videos at least once. So this guy's about to get the same treatment. I'm going to go away, do some designs, and then I'll chat through my thoughts with you the next time we speak. So let's start by asking the question, what can I do with this thing? In order to decide on what the hell it is that I'm making, I figured the best place to start is to come straight to the scene of the crime. Or maybe in this case, it's the scene of a future crime, where this thing is going to be living. And that is my living room. This room is a bit of an awkward layout, and I've never quite figured out the correct configuration of furniture for it. But while the majority of this room is not getting tackled in this video, today we will be honing in on this one specific little corner here behind my sofa. And I'm hoping that this new thing that I make out of this old thing will serve the needs of this specific corner perfectly, and also maybe give me some inspiration for what I could do elsewhere in the room. As you can see, the current setup is like this. I got this beautiful charity shop cat drawing leaning here and blocking my plug socket, which is good for aesthetics but bad for function. And next to that, I've got this small round vintage bamboo stacking table with a broken wooden box on top of it and a lamp inside of that broken wooden box. I actually made this lamp quite a while ago from a hodgepodge of different things. It was one of those projects where I didn't have a specific vision going into it, and I fear that that shows. It was without a lampshade for over a year because I just couldn't find one anywhere that worked. But I recently found this one at a charity shop, and the colours match pretty perfectly, so I'm happy about that. But what I'm not quite so happy about is the fact that this lamp is a little bit wobbly. It does stand up just fine on its own, but if you give it a little nudge, it can go straight over, which is maybe why people don't usually make lamps around the base of a loo roll holder. But sunk cost fallacy, I'm not about to give up on it now because I've already spent too much time making it into what it is today. I already know that I want this lamp and this picture to stay in this spot. And I want whatever I make with this thing to be a base that unifies the space and makes the whole thing feel more intentional and be more functional. Key things for function being that I want the lamp to not fall over and I want the picture to be raised off the floor so that the plug socket is accessible. After playing around a bit with the box in the space, I think I've decided that it will be better off flipped onto its side so that it has a taller, slimmer profile. When it's the normal way up, I think it juts out past this corner a bit too much, and I really want whatever this turns out to be to feel harmonious with this wall somehow. I'm going to add these 4 little legs to the base of the box to give it a bit of extra height and to mean that it can sit a bit flatter up against the skirting board because there's a lip at the bottom. I bought these last year for a DIY project that I was doing for my bedroom, but I didn't end up needing them, so I'll be glad to make use of them now. I'm pretty sure I want to take these divider slats out and maybe add just one shelf going horizontally the other way. And then since this crappy old box was in the space already, I figured why not throw it into this DIY and continue using it as some sort of base for the lamp. I'm not certain how that's going to work exactly yet, so watch this space for that. Then I want to add a surface on the top of the 2 base pieces, connecting them together, which will be curved to fit nicely around this diagonal wall and will make the perfect leaning surface for that cat picture, but will mean that the plug socket underneath is much more accessible. I'm thinking I'll make a hole in the top of one side of the surface that the lamp will slot through to stop it from ever falling over again, or at least hopefully. So this is what I've got so far. This is not a fully ironed out design plan, but just the first stages of my thoughts for what I could be doing with this. I think a lot of the kinks won't get ironed out until I'm actually making this thing, because with a project like this you have to give yourself a good degree of flexibility to alter the design as different issues inevitably arise, and just hope that it ends up somewhere decent. We'll soon find out. Let's start making. It is making day 1 of this upcycle project, and today I am cosplaying as vice chairman, so please do address me as such. Today I'm in my kitchen because it's got the biggest amount of available floor space at the moment. I need to try and get these out today, which I'm not sure if that's going to be easy or hard. First things first though, I'm just pulling off the stuff that was on it. Got some old typos here from my label maker. It says paint. So the stickers are off, and now the first question of the day is, how do I get these slats out of here? First thought is maybe if I bash them with a hammer down onto themselves, that I'll be able to wiggle them loose and then pull them out. So let's try that. I'm actually going to go for this mallet instead of the hammer because I think it will give a more even hit. It's going to be really loud though. The other option is just to snap. Maybe if I put this down into it. What am I doing? Okay, so after attempting this for approximately 0.2 seconds, I've already realised that's a stupid idea. So I'm going to saw them out instead. Will that work? I hope so. Oh, it's a tiny spider. Oh no, it's a bit fluff. These things are quite bendy, so I could potentially try and snap them, but the risk is that I actually end up breaking the outside of the box, which I don't want to do. So I ended up being able to get the middle slat out by using this as like a wedge and pulling it sideways. And I now know that there are staples holding these in as well, which is why they're quite stiff. I'm going to continue the procedure until we have a slat-free box. Now I've got my lovely empty carcass here. It is time to attach the legs. And as I mentioned earlier, these were something that I already had lying around. They came obviously with the fittings to attach them, so I'm pretty sure I attached the legs to the fittings and then the fittings to the bottom of this. I'll use the edges of it as a guide so that they're all evenly spaced. This should be a nice, easy task. This took embarrassingly longer than I thought, and I had to get my drill out to do it. But now I've got 4 little legs ready to go on the base. They look like little traffic cones. And I'm just gonna screw them directly on each corner of this. And I'm putting them on now because I'm gonna paper mache over the whole thing, including the legs. I do like this light wood, but I don't really care for this to be wooden. I'd rather it all be a more globby paper mache finish. So I'm gonna get these on just so the frame is all ready for the first coat. We now have 4 legs. I only used 2 screws for each of these because they didn't need 4 each. They're going to be covered in glue anyway. And with these on, we now have a cute little cabinet thing. And I would say this is starting to look like something, more so than it did before. I was a bit worried that once these slats were gone, that it would feel a lot wobblier, but it is still a sturdy box. As you can see, we've got these gaps in the bottom and the top where the slats were, and those need filling. So I'm going to start by doing that next. So I've had a few comments now from people asking if I could do more of a paper mache tutorial kind of video, because in my other videos with how much I'm trying to cram into an hour or whatever, I haven't been going that in depth on what I'm actually doing. Because this is a one project video, I'm hoping to be able to fulfill that request and go into a little bit more depth on the steps that I'm taking. That being said, this isn't something that I've necessarily been taught or that I know what I'm doing. I only really started paper macheing last year. I just make it up as I go. So I don't think I have any specific secrets or insight I can give. I can tell you what I'm doing at each step. So first thing I need to do, like I said, is fill in these gaps so that I've got a level surface to paper mache on top of. For this, I'm going to use a really liquidy mix of PVA glue, toilet paper, and water so that I've got a really wet but thick paste that I can push into all of the gaps. Let's get my glue out. I bought this recently from B&Q and this is a big thing of glue. I want to say this was £16. I'll check and put the price on the screen. And for me, because I do a lot of paper mache, buying it in bulk like this is worth it. I've mixed a big glob of PVA glue with a relatively generous splash of water, and I've shredded up a load of this loo roll, so I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to show you the way that I do it, which is a really mucky way that will get you really sticky. I prefer to paste the paper or the loo roll into my hand and get the full underside of it covered in glue. Then I'm mashing it up basically with my fingers until I know that the glue is all saturated through the paper, and I'm going to use that like a little bit of gum on the underside of a school desk, and I'm going to shove it into that gap there. Really, I think of this loo roll method as being like polyfiller, filling in all of the gaps and rounding out all of the edges. I find this so satisfying. I missed the slime trend. I feel like I was too old for it, or it just wasn't on my radar when it was happening. But I think if you liked slime, you'll like paper mache too. Personally, I love getting mucky. Trouble is, once I start paper macheing, I'm terrified to touch my camera. You're going to be in one spot for a little while I get this done. You might be wondering why I'm already starting paper macheing before I've made the frame of the whole piece of furniture. And that's just for practicality's sake. It's much easier to work on a smaller piece. I can have it up on my desk. I can flip it around really easily. I know that the inside bit of this is going to be one of the more fiddly bits of the project because I'm going to have to constantly be working with my hands inside of it. So if I can get the inside of this mostly paper mache before it's connected to something else, I think that makes the most sense. Also, I do want to acknowledge that I pronounce paper mache like the English word of paper rather than saying papier mache. That's just because we never would say papier mache growing up. We would always call it paper mache. And also I have a very unconvincing French accent. I cringe myself out a little bit when I try and say it correctly, so please do forgive me for my Englishness. About halfway through doing my polyfillering, and you know what, I think I'm going to do the first coat of the newspaper over this before the end of today. I'm having a bloody good time doing this, and when you're in the mood to paper mache, you just gotta go with the flow. Looks a bit like layers of cake now, which is pleasing. Making me hungry for cake. but I don't have any, so instead I'm going to do one layer of the newspaper on top of this. So now I have all of my edges sealed. I want to do the first coat of newspaper paper mache on the interior of this just to get it out of the way. But before I do that, I need to add a little support for the shelf that's going to go in here. I'm thinking that the easiest way to do this, to stop the fiddliness of having a tiny little place to put my hand at the top here when I'm paper macheing, is to make the shelf a removable shelf that can slide in and out. So for that, I just need 2 struts on either side that it can sit on top of, and I've gotten a little scrap bit of cardboard from my cardboard cupboard, and I'm literally just going to cut some little pieces, staple them onto the sides here and tape them, and then paper mache over them. It will look incredibly flimsy initially. Nothing is particularly measured either, it's all just by eye. Let's cut it in half. And then let's fold these over. So we have something that looks like this. The central part will be the ledge that the shelf sits on top of, and these lips are where I can staple the shelf onto the wood. I think I'm going to go with this height where I've just randomly placed it now. Once again, I'm doing this by eye. As long as it's approximately at 90 degrees, it will work, because I'll be remolding the shape of this lip anyway slightly once I start paper mashing. I hope some of this makes sense. I feel like when I'm making something, I'm so in my own world that I know exactly what it is I'm trying to do, but trying to verbalize that so other people can understand it is challenging. So it's that type of height. I think that's good. Both of our brackets are in, and I've cut out what will be the shelf to double check that the height's right. I think that this cubby ratio is right, a little bit shorter at the top than it is underneath. So now I'll staple these in place, and then I'll do the first coat of paper mache over everything in here. Time for newspaper. And unlike the tissue paper, I don't scrunch this up obviously before I put it on. I just slabber up the back side. Jeez. I just glue the back and then stick it down and add glue over the top. And I'm just going to layer this whole thing. Again, I've mixed this PVA with some water, slightly less water in this mix than I use for the toilet paper, because with the toilet paper, you really need it to saturate into the absorbentness of that paper. Whereas the newspaper, it's not as beneficial to make it soaking wet, although this is still a very sticky process. It's going to take a little while to do the paper mache on the inside of this, so I want to put something fun on to watch and not just be sitting here silently in front of the camera. Here's how it's looking. I'm going to go around the sides, I think, today and do as much of this bit as I can, because, like I said, I am thoroughly enjoying my paper mache day, and I'm going to roll with it. So here's my progress at the end of day 1. And as you can see, I did actually end up getting quite a lot done today. I've done all of the sides except for the base. I did actually paper mache the top, even though there's going to be a tabletop on top of it. Sometimes I just want to keep going, so I do. Now I just need to leave this for a few days to let this first coat fully dry out before I go in with the next steps. So I'll catch you then. It is the next day, and this is touch dry in most places apart from at the corners where it's still damp. I popped to the shops this morning to buy another load of cheap glue rolls so that I can carry on with this today. So on these legs, I'm putting a layer of loo roll down first before I do newspaper on top, and that's because the legs are quite a slippery surface, and I think that putting down something that has a bit more texture like loo roll will kind of create a key that the paper mache will adhere onto better, kind of like sanding wood before painting it. I don't know that it will make much of a difference, but it seems the right thing to do to me. And then I'll probably go over most of this with loo roll again anyway when I'm doing the actual sculpting, shaping part of this project. This is all just building up the form, making it unified and adding strength at this point. Progress has been made. If I can get one layer of newspaper done and then also do the final layer of the loo roll on top of that today, I'll be pleased, because then it'll mean the underside won't need touching too much again. My work is done for the day, and it's looking a little bit like a sandcastle or like a Lego brick, but it's a good start. and I can see the vision, I think. It's a new day and it's already late afternoon. I wasn't planning on doing any filming today. I've just been having a quiet day on the sofa, but I moved this unit back in here to have a look, and then I was basically just staring at this corner. I had to think about how I am connecting this piece to the lamp base and how the top surface is going to work. I really like the legs on this side of it. I think it makes it feel much more like a piece of furniture, but I don't have any more legs and I don't want to buy any more legs. So this small box side of it is just going to have to be flat on the ground, and I'm not sure whether that balance of weight is working for me in my head. So I want to think of a way to make it not just look like a block on the ground. I don't know whether I want this wooden box on its side like that so I have another opening at the bottom, or if I want it flat with the lamp on top. That will be the more sturdy way, but this is how the gangway will be, and I want to keep it as tight as possible. It's still very much in the how's this gonna work phase. I feel like I need to actually do something to progress it in my mind today so that I can ruminate on it overnight. And what I think would be useful to do would be to cut out the top surface and get the shape of the shelf in place so that I can see how I can connect it then to this secondary box. So I hope some of that made sense. Let's get some cardboard. I've been saving this specific cardboard box for an extra sturdy project. This is that cardboard that's got a kind of plasticky overlay, which usually is not the type that I like to work with, but it is pretty strong. I'm going to be glad to be able to use some of this because it has been taking up quite a bit of space behind my art room door. So let's get my scissors. These are tough cut scissors. They're the toughest of cuts, and I really hate them because they're stiff and they hurt my fingers. Ow. I'm hoping this panel will be a good size for it. I swapped to a scalpel and it was much more effective. Let's see what we can do with this bit, shall we? Are you convinced yet? I'm going to draw out a rough shape of the top and then cut that out, and then I'll have a much better idea. I folded over a lip at the back and tucked it down there because I don't want a gap between the surface of this and the wall. That's how it needs to be. Not like this. Now I'm just thinking about the shape of it. Do I want it to be a quarter circle here curve, or a more organic shape around the whole way? Not sure yet. Ignore the kettle, but that's the general gist. And I reckon it's about fine. There's plenty of room here to walk through, and to be honest, I only ever come here to open and close the curtains anyway. It's a nice little low kind of console table, and I went for quite a simple curve on the edge there. I like it from this angle. The curve kind of softens the shape of that angle there. I feel like sometimes I worry that my projects are going to look a little bit too crafty, like amateur crafty. But to be honest, I love a kind of naive art style. I love things that are imperfect and a little bit amateurish. So as ever, I'm just going to do my best with this. I definitely want to curve this corner around a bit because I realised that it currently looks quite a lot like an ironing board. I don't want it to look like an ironing board, so I think if it's not flat one end, curved at the other end, that will minimise the ironing boardiness of it. I'm quite happy with it though. Despite how it looks, I can see that it will work for what I want. I think I'm just going to carry on making the cardboard frame for the rest of this. Figure out how I'm connecting this and cut out the shape for the lamp. Now it looks like an ironing board mixed with a commode. Oh my god, it looks like one of those camping toilets. But it's fine because the lamp will be in it, so it won't look like that. The day to day. But yeah, it looks like you can squat on it. Let's see if the lamp fits. So I'd have to thread the cord through first, and I've given this middle shelf a cutout at the back so that the cord can go straight down there. Slots in like so. Definitely not going to fall over. Does it look bizarre? You see? And it's not going anywhere now. What do you think? This is the very basic frame. And you know what? It's odd, but I like it. This cubby here obviously the lamp base sits on the top there, and then we've got a little bit of room where I can put some books or trinkets down there. Then we will have the 2 shelves here as well. And then there's still plenty of surface that I could accessorize if I wanted to. I'm actually really pleased with how it's looking. I've started doubling up the thickness of some areas of this, and I think I'm going to do kind of a bend here and also round off this edge slightly. I also want to fill in the gap here between the back of this and the wall and put a piece of card in the side there that can connect and flow into everything else. It doesn't look as toilety with the lamp in it. About an hour later, and I made the decision to cut a curve into this top surface here so that it's more ergonomic with the corner of the sofa there. Just flows round nicer. Also, I think it makes it look less like an ironing board. I've just been padding out the shape with more layers of cardboard and adding some more curves generally. The light's almost gone now today, so off camera I'm going to finish off the shaping of the rest of this with more cardboard and get the frame as sturdy and secure as it can be. I want to be able to carry it in one piece from the living room to the art room. Wow, that is bright. As you can see, my frame is now one solidish thing. As expected, my design ideas for this piece have already changed somewhat since that initial sketch that I did. As you know, I decided to put this smaller wooden box on its side down here, and I've also added an extra central shelf connecting the 2 sides together. I think this was a good call because not only will it add extra strength to the piece when it's finished, but it also connects the 2 sides and makes the whole thing look a bit more like one purposeful item. And now the whole thing's just more functional storage wise as well. I have 2 extra cubbies that I didn't think that I would have that I can use for books or things, so that is good. Building a frame for a piece can actually be one of the most fun, experimental and chaotic parts of the whole paper mache process. You can really change your plans and make it up as you go, which is wonderful. It's like so opposite to something like carpentry, say, where lots of the skill is in the forward planning, the measuring, the precise cutting. I just slap little bits of cardboard together until it looks about right. Now I have this made, I can start the, what I'm assuming will be very long and repetitive process of covering it all in paper. As I did with the inside of this first cubby, my first step is going to be using my loo roll polyfiller stuff and going around all of the gaps and the edges and filling in any cracks. I'll also be adding a first layer of the newspaper in some places today where I feel like it needs that first initial bit of strength. This is as far as I got yesterday. I only had about an hour or so on the paper mache yesterday, so I did a bit of this cubby and a bit of this one and started bulking out areas of the edges, and today I'm going to be continuing the same process with more of it. I don't know how far I'll get, but I've got a lot more hours available to me today. Noisy seagull. I'm glad that it's warm weather at the moment because it means that the layers are drying so much quicker. In the winter months, the whole process takes way longer because it just takes ages for things to dry out. So I'll keep checking in with you and showing you how we're getting on as the day progresses. Let's get cracking. Progress is slow, but that's all part of the fun. I realised that I meant to curve this shelf to kind of come out this way, kind of like how this one is. So I'm going to add an extra bit of cardboard. Now that it's got this kidney shaped top, I really want to mirror those curves in the rest of the shape. I want it to be boobar, not kiki, if that makes sense to you. I actually added a thinner piece, so it's stapled on at both sides and it's got a bit of tape. Look at my gluey hands. So I've been at it for about 3 hours now and I've done a fair amount, but it's hard to do the undersides of the shelves with it like this because I keep having to crane my neck up like this, and at this age I can't be doing that to my back. So I think I'm going to flip this over and work on it the other way up. The back side looks really shit at the moment, but this is exactly why I flipped it over, so that I can rectify that. So I'm just going to carry on with the same process this way up.
Your brain from all of its complicated overthinking.
By the way, so far I've used about the equivalent of 1 loo roll's worth of loo roll, which isn't bad really, considering this is the extra cheap kind. the underside is coming along nicely. It's so satisfying being able to pin down these loose flappy bits and get them tucked up safely under a bit of newspaper. After the first coat of paper mâché is done, that's when the thing really starts feeling solid and unified. It's been about 5 hours and I'm still going. This little section here with the circle cut out is proving a little bit fiddly, but we're getting there. This base section's all nice and neat now. I've done a lot of the underside here, and now we just continue with this bit. Okay, I'm done for today, and this is how far I've gotten. I just finished doing this side. Most of this is done. I just haven't done all of this business over here. It looks even more like an elaborate sandcastle now. Very good progress today, I would say. And now I'm gonna go and eat some mushrooms. Paper mâché tip: when you are ripping up your newspaper, try and make a selection of shapes. The longer, thinner ones are good for going around corners and adding extra strength. And then you want some smaller pieces for doing little bits of detail, and some medium size as well. If you have a corner or an edge or something that looks like this, lumpy and uneven, and you don't want it to look like that, then again, use your loo roll paper mâché to fill in all of these little gaps and smooth it off. Then you can go over it again with newspaper and you'll have a much smoother edge. Partway through the day, and I have finally finished the first coat on all of this except for the top, which is currently on the bottom. And now I'm starting to go over the bits that are dry with some loo roll. I've started doing this in most of my paper mâché projects, finishing them off with a layer of loo roll that's then sanded. I like the mottled texture that it gives in comparison to just the newspaper. Also, it's a good way to blend in any of these edges, which, I mean, they're very subtle, they barely stick out. But when you go over them with the loo roll, it all becomes nice and solid, and it's less likely that you're going to get bits peeling back on themselves. I've now used about 2 loo rolls on this project. I'm on to my 3rd one, and I think about 3 newspapers. So for these final coats of the loo roll, unlike when I'm filling gaps and I put the glue onto the paper in my hand, for this I want the paper to go on as flat as possible. So I'm pasting the surface of the item and then putting the paper on dry. You just lay it down really roughly and then gently press the edges into place. That keeps it somewhat secure and stops it shredding all over the place. And now I can add another layer of glue on top and gently push it down with my fingers with very little pressure, because you don't want to break the paper, just to push the air bubbles out of the sides of the paper. This final coat of the loo roll over the top of the newspaper really is not essential. I could just finish off all the edges with a bit of loo roll and then paint the whole thing, but I've decided to put a full layer of this on first because I prefer the texture of that as a finished thing, and I think it works out easier to paint as well. So I do think it's worth doing, but it's a personal preference, certainly not essential. So I'm just going to be doing this on all of it. I've run out of steam, but here is today's progress. I got a lot of the loo roll done on the undersides, but I didn't finish it because my back was starting to twinge. Today I'm doing more paper mache. With this amount of surface area, I don't know if I should have done the loo roll, but we live and we learn, and I do think the finish will be nicer. It's just taking 10 million hours and using up a lot of glue, but I've already committed to it, so let's do this tabletop. I keep trying to think about useful tips that I can be giving as I'm doing this, but so much of it is just the same thing over and over again. But I don't know how many different ways I can say it. It's just sticking paper onto a surface. Paper mâché is an accessible craft in that the materials are relatively cheap. You don't really need tools for it. It's a financially cheap but time expensive craft. It takes a lot of time. Obviously as well, making something this big, it's taking longer than any other paper mache thing I've ever made just to cover all the surfaces. But it is really hard to do it wrong. Even if you make a mistake, you can just go over it, patch things up. It ends up looking okay. Although saying that, my boyfriend did call this Fred Flintstone's dressing table earlier, and I can really see what he means. But that's nothing to do with the technique or to do with my personal taste. The only thing that matters when you make something for yourself is that you like it. You don't need to have to be able to justify that to anyone else or explain why you think it's nice or interesting or not a waste of your time. Trust your own ability to know yourself and follow your own sense of taste. I posted a progress picture of this on my community tab, and someone guessed that I was making the anthropology shelf, which I'm guessing that commenter means this shelf. And this wasn't something I was specifically referencing in this video, but I definitely can see the similarities, and maybe I was influenced by it without directly thinking about it. Quite possibly. It's a piece of furniture that I've seen around on the internet quite a lot the last few years. And yeah, I suppose you could make that shelf out of paper mache, but you would need a very strong frame. Because this is a low-lying piece of furniture and it's got all of the weight at the bottoms of it, I feel more confident that it's going to be sturdy and feel well made than if I did attempt to make a large shelving unit like the anthropology one. But yeah, I'm carrying on. Today's progress. I am wearing pajamas today. You will have to excuse me. I've switched to a fan brush because for putting the tissue paper layer on, it's a lot more gentle and it has a much wider brush head, so you can put the glue on more evenly and get it soaked through the loo roll. I'm annoyed that I didn't start using this earlier because it's much easier and much quicker. It's all finally covered. There's going to be some bits which need a final bit of touching up once this is dry, but that's the bulk of it done. It's been about a week since the last time I worked on this project. As per the schedule that I'd made for myself, I should have been done with this by now, but there has been a lot going on lately. And by a lot, I mean a huge upsurge in white right-wing extremism here in the UK. And I've been too busy being furious to think about paper mache, to be honest. I'm filming this on Thursday, the 8th of August, if you want to know, as a historical reference. And last night there was huge anti-fascist counter-protests which took on the far right head on in the street and outnumbered them by far. Saw amazing scenes in Brighton and Walthamstow and other places in the country. The town where I live is a smaller place, but we still gathered in our hundreds against a few little idiots. So that was good, and I'm back now to finish this project. I was planning to do a bit more paper mache on this today because there are some areas which could use a little bit more, but after looking at it this morning, I don't think it really needs it. I've used about half of this thing of glue on this, and that's more than enough. As you can see, it's definitely one solid object now, and I'm pretty happy with how the shapes turned out. I did go and put it in the living room earlier to test it out in the space, and it's looking good. So today I need to do some sanding, and then I can slap the first coat of paint on, which is the bit I'm most excited for. I just flipped it over and it must have still been a bit wet when it was the other way up, and it's got a bit of my MDF board stuck on it. So I've been using this shell to try and get it off. Doesn't work very well. Also, you can see here where the wood box is underneath it, where the stain's gotten wet when I've done the paper mache, it's kind of bled through the paper a bit. and left a lovely brown mark. But I don't think that this will bleed through the paint, or at least I hope not. Now I only want to give this a really light sand, so I'm just going to use quite a fine grit sandpaper and one of my cheap old sanding blocks. I've been picturing this as having quite a textured surface, which is why I spent so long covering it in this tissue paper. So I don't want to just sand all of that texture away again. That would be stupid and annoying. So I'm basically just lightly smoothing it down to get rid of any particularly rough areas. The paint and the sealing coats also do smooth out the surface of this quite a lot once they've been put on. So if you're following along with this at home, don't worry if the surface is still looking a bit rough by the end of the sanding process. That's not the final step. She has been sanded, and I've just popped my lamp in there to give you an idea of the full effect. It's ready for painting now, and let's take a second to talk about paint colour. I've been quite indecisive about what colour I want to paint this. I'm going back and forth on whether it should just be kind of plain and neutral to fit in with the wall colour, or whether I want to do a colour. I am also tempted to try and paint it a kind of patchworky effect in the same colours of the lamp, so that it seamlessly blends in together. But I don't know whether I like that more, or if I like it more that the lamp is different. I'm not sure, but I am going to start off with a coat of the beige colour that's on the back of that door over there that I painted in my recent toilet makeover video, because I have some leftover paint from that makeover, and I know that the lick paint goes on paper mache really well. It has a nice kind of finish, so I can do a first coat in that beigey neutral shade, have a look at it with the lamp, and then consider more. Also, I just realised I haven't made the pulley inny outy shelf for this side yet, but I'm really in the mood to paint now. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll make the shelf later on because I got myself all set up. The first brush stroke. I bloody love a fan brush. Yeah, the coverage of this paint is great. I've just finished the first coat, and I think it actually looks really good. And my current thought is that it will be best left this colour. It's gonna have things on it too. Sometimes neutral is better. I'm gonna do another coat once this one's dry. Then I also have to flip it over and do the back. She's looking pretty swanky, I think. So I'm gonna try and get 2 coats finished on this today, and then I'll leave it to dry overnight, and we'll be ready to seal it. So we're very close to the end now. Oh yeah, and that shelf. Ignore the shelf that still needs doing. He'll get done. Here she is, all painted. I painted the back this morning, and I am going to seal it once I've done a second coat on that. Meanwhile, I've been working on our missing shelf, and since I didn't measure it, obviously one of the struts is a little bit higher than the other one. But that was always going to happen, and I knew it would be easy to rectify by making one side of the shelf a little bit thinner than the other side, and it evens out. I've just been paper macheing that. I've done both sides in the newspaper, but I'm doing the loo roll coat on top, and I was thinking, oh, I wish I had a thing that would hold it upright so that I can do both sides. Then I remembered that a couple of years ago I made this leg thing, and when I made it I didn't know what it was for, but now I do know. Look, I love my past self, so I can do the back now too. I've been half umming and ahhing over the idea of adding a ruffle trim around the edge of the unit itself, because I was feeling inspired by this kidney-shaped top and the idea of 1980s dressing tables. But honestly, I really feel like I should leave it plain. Although that's not to say I won't repaint and add a ruffle to this at a later date. I certainly might. But for now, I'm getting my ruffle fix by adding one to this lampshade. I have some of this really nice fabric that I bought a couple of months ago from a fabric shop, and I've been waiting to use some of it, but it's a good palette to go with the rest of this. I'll show you it later. I am now on the final stretch with this project. I've just finished doing the last coat of paper mâché on my little removable shelf. I've almost finished on the lampshade, and this guy's ready for sealing. This is an important part of the process, which really helps to make your paper mâché piece feel finished. It gives the surfaces a nice glossy texture, which means that they can be wiped clean, which is obviously important for furniture items. And for this, I'm going to be using Mod Podge, which is a water-based sealer, glue and finish. Unlike PVA, which is just a glue, this guy does everything. And even though this is more expensive than regular PVA glue, I do recommend investing in it for that final coat on your pieces. It also goes on really nicely. It's a lovely consistency, and this here pot will last me quite a long time because I only use it for final coats on things. So I'm going to go over this whole thing. Once again, I'll be using a fan brush because it gives a lovely even application, and then we'll be so close to being done. Just finished going over the whole thing and it's drying. These first bits have already dried because Mod Podge does dry relatively quickly. Flipped it over and the bottom has also been sealed, so that's drying. And so's this. Why did I leave this to the last minute? It's now the only thing that's left to finish. The table is done. I have sanded and painted and sealed this guy off camera over the last couple of days, and now it's ready to go in its place on the unit. Despite just being made of cardboard, it really is pretty strong. It can hold multiple books without issue. You might be wondering how strong this unit is overall, and I would say relatively so. I wouldn't recommend standing on it or anything, but it's more than strong enough to hold everything that I want to put on it. Now let's put it in place, cover it in bric-a-brac, and show you the final reveal. Meow. If we go back in time to remember my initial goal for this project, memory here, and I want whatever I make with this thing to be a base that unifies the space and makes the whole thing feel more intentional and be more functional. I want the lamp to not fall over, and I want the picture to be raised off the floor so that the plug socket is accessible. I would say that the brief has been fulfilled, and I think that this looks really pretty good. It's definitely making the space work better than it did before. The plug socket is now easily accessible. The lamp is staying upright, and it's given me additional surfaces for storage and styling. When I look back at the raw materials that I used to make this project versus how it looks now, I'm gonna say it was a success. Let me know what you think down in the comments. This video ended up quite a bit longer than I'd originally imagined, but it turns out that I had a lot to say about this, and I'm just hoping that it hasn't been tedious to watch. I've got more What Shall I Do With This Thing episodes planned for the future, as well as other art, design and makeover content that will be coming up on my channel. So if you want to see any of that, please do subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye!